Well, I don't know about you, but I can't even take seriously some of these people. Anyway, when Americans vote for their president, foreign policy is rarely on top of the agenda. But as the U.S. continues to fight two foreign wars in the Arab world and threatens a military strike against Iran, it is to be expected that presidential candidates are prepared to become the country's commander-in-chief. But in this campaign, there seems to be some doubt that Barack Obama's Republican contenders are up to this task. Traditionally, U.S. presidential campaign focuses on the state of the economy, taxes, and jobs. This election cycle is no different. But since the U.S. remains the world's only superpower experiencing global overreach, the American president has no choice but to be engaged in foreign policy. And Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann wants the job, even if she is dicey with some basic facts.
There's reports that have come out that Cuba has been working with another terrorist organization called Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is potentially looking at wanting to be a part of missile sites in Iran.
In Bachmann's case, it appears that fear-mongering has become a replacement for knowledge. But then there's the case of candidate Herman Cain. His ability to talk about such important issues as Libya borders on the humorous, though it is also quite unsettling.
Okay, Libya. President Obama supported the uprising, correct? President Obama called for the removal of Gaddafi. Just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing before I say, yes, I agreed, I know I didn't agree.
Iran is another subject that's getting a lot of airtime in this election, and with the only one exception, Congressman Ron Paul, aspiring Republican nominees are falling over themselves to show who's the most hawkish when it comes to the Islamic Republic. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich even has a plan to start a war with Tehran if elected president.
Maximum covert operations to block and disrupt the Iranian program, including taking out their scientists, including breaking up their systems, all of it covertly, all of it deniable. Second,
it appears that the former House Speaker is oblivious to the fact that preemptive war is illegal and against international law, and that going to war is a decision for the U.S. Congress and not the President. Across the board, Republicans have been extremely critical of Obama's foreign policy, which is to be expected in any election. But one has to wonder how effective this criticism is when it is not even based on fact or knowledge. So I don't know if I'm more amused or saddened by all this.
Well, it's odd, too. And when you look back here, things obviously have also changed in recent years. As a more conservative element, as a Tea Party element has gained control of the primary process, Republicans have become a lot more hawkish. And, so you do have a few. You mentioned Ron Paul. John Huntsman, I believe, is also for pulling out of Afghanistan. But for the most part, the guys who are in the lead are just trying to jump on top of each other. And those are not just foreign policy concerns. Those are domestic concerns. It's very popular among evangelical Christians to be very pro-Israel for a variety of religious reasons. So that affects that.
Well, again, he's not a hawk after all. The fact that Osama bin Laden is dead, the fact that Gaddafi is dead, these were already in the works. We've been fighting al-Qaeda since 2001, actually before that covertly. So this is nothing that Obama went out and did. It's not like he's Rambo, ripped off his shirt, stuck a knife between his teeth and went out. This is a president who goes around the world apologizing for this country, apologizing for the American people, apologizing for what we've done in the world, bows before foreign leaders, bowed before the Saudi king. He even bowed before a mayor in Louisiana. This is a guy who has no foreign policy. What he does have is a thirst for and a lust for the use of power.
Okay, Cliff, jump in. Go ahead, Cliff, jump in. Go ahead.
That's patently ridiculous. I guess in Mark's world, it'd be preferable if we had a president who declared victory in Iraq and got up on an aircraft carrier and pumped his own chest before thousands of Americans died in a war that wasn't planned out, where Paul Wolfowitz said, "Oh, the oil will pay for the whole thing and the rest." That's ridiculous. I could bring back pictures of George W. Bush walking, holding hands with the Saudi leaders. And frankly, if anybody bowed down to the Saudis, it was the Bush family. It wasn't Barack Obama. Look,
George W. Bush is not running for president of the United States.
Whatever other positions he takes, You know, domestically, as you've pointed out, he hasn't been as tough. He often has been willing to deal with Republicans when, frankly, they've been acting insane, and he probably shouldn't be, and that's made him look weak, and that's been his mistake, is actually not being tougher on the other party and standing up stronger. But again, this myth that he didn't do anything with a bin Laden.
That's nice, but
well, that's great. I love how the Tea. You guys will take credit with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan ended the Tea Party. Right? Ronald Reagan ended the Cold War single-handedly with the knife between his teeth, crawling across the border and killing them all. Right, just like in a John Wayne movie. But Obama didn't do anything. Okay, whatever you say, Mark.
Okay, I want to go to Bill. I want to go to Bill in Washington.
It's nice to live a decade.
Let me go to Bill in Washington. Bill, go ahead. Okay, Mark, if I can go to you in Sacramento. I mean, with the exception of, we can say, Ron Paul and maybe a few other candidates, I mean, it seems pretty universal that the next president, if it's a Republican, is the first order of business is going to bomb Iran to hell. That's what it sounded like from that Republican foreign policy debate.
No. Oh, I think by the time the election rolls around, Iran will already have been bombed to hell, most likely by Israel. Whatever can be done to prevent the Iranians from getting a nuclear weapon has got to be done. I mean, it's insanity to let them have that weapon because we all know what they'll do with it. The idea that a gun in the hands of a criminal is the same as a gun in the hands of a cop is crazy. A nuclear weapon in the hands of Russia or the United States or France is a tool for peace. A nuclear weapon in the hands of Iran is a tool for genocide and extinction.
Okay, Bill, if I can go to you in Washington, just to be kind of counterintuitive here. You know, we have an election coming up in a year in the United States, and considering the rhetoric that we've heard from the United States and other Western capitals for years about Iran, I bet Iran is doing everything it possibly can to get a nuclear weapon now because they know that the next president of the United States will probably go to war with them. So I'm just trying to be counterintuitive here. I mean, Newt Gingrich was talking about covert, which is actually quite hilarious because he was saying, and we can do it all deniable. It's all deniability, okay? I mean, it's absolutely hysterical watching that debate because he just gave his game plan away to a potential foe or a real foe in his mind.
And for all I know, we're doing it. We're doing all those things. We're certainly trying to organize the world to impose tougher sanctions on Iran. There's some talk about taking sanctions against the Bank of Iran that could have devastating impact on oil markets. But those are the things that are going on right now.
Obama, like it or not, has actually turned into a foreign policy president, and usually doesn't happen to a president in the first term.
Well, I mean, look, if you look at those debates, I mean, anytime that we're talking about, you know, someone being executed in Texas or somewhere else, the crowd's getting up and cheering. I mean, there seems to be almost this bloodlust. I mean, look, does Iran need to be prevented? I agree. It's a bipartisan effort to try to stop Iran from getting their hands on nuclear weapons, and that absolutely, in my opinion, should be done. But again, we need to think out our courses of action before we take them. I mean, Herman Cain probably thinks Iran is somewhere in the south of Africa, you know, and Rick Perry, you know, if he's able to talk because he's not on too many pills at the time at these debates, who knows what he would say. I mean, again, this group of guys that, you know, that want to be president seem more like talk show hosts. We don't just, you know, do we need to potentially take military action? We might, but this is something that needs to be